Another one up, another one down, man. What's going on, everybody? Oh, as per usual, it's the usual suspects. No, nothing new over here. What's going on, Jay? How you doing?
Not doing well, doing well. Welcome everybody to the know and the think they know.
Well, it's more like the think they know and the know, but we're not gonna split hairs over here. So,
You know.
oh man, got a decent one for you today. All those people out there, well, not everyone, but a good majority of people growing up with their parents, their moms, and boys, they love their mom and things like that. So the question is, being a mama's boy, and I know you were ready for this. You were chomping at the bit to try and say something smart. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the
No,
floor first.
no, no. No, the mama's boy is a topic I can relate to as well. I grew up, my father passed away when I was young,
Mm.
so mainly I grew up with my mother. Um, and but I have to say that I have to put the but there. It's the parenting method for a single mother with old school values totally different than the new school values of being a mother in a quote unquote mama's boy.
Hmm. Okay. Well, then, what is it? What do you think about boy? Because I already have I can make a couple of references right now, but so I'll go ahead and age before beauty, go cheese. So go ahead.
I appreciate that and wisdom as well, but no, today mama's boy, back in the day, mama's boy was relating to the male. I look at mama's boy in today's society as the girl, uh, the young ladies, and in the home now, because I see the mothers um, pushing being self sufficient. You know, don't care about a man. Don't have to rely on a man. Um, Things like that. So I look at it as the women are the mama's boys in literal terms than the male side, the sons in the house. How do you see it?
Look, Bobby Boucher is the epitome of mama's boy. Got to get permission from your mom to do anything. Like, mom is always right. She's never wrong. And best friends with your mother and everything like that. That is the, at least in my opinion, that is the point blank definition for what a mama's boy is. Now I understand what you're saying about how the terms have flipped, and it's more so for the women now, but
Mhm.
I mean, it just that movie is not going to go away, in a sense that, if you want to know what a mama's boy is, you go look at you go look at the Water Boy. You got a pretty good idea.
Now, okay. So, do you believe that's how it is today?
Oh no, not at all. I think it's a lot more independent now, compared to how it was back then. There's not a I think the parents in my era, and I guess a little bit on the back end of your era, are starting to
Mhm.
let the children be a lot more expressive and free, as far as what they want to do and everything like that. So they're not so much trying to control the direction of their child, which can be a good and a bad thing, when they're younger.
Well, I see it. Expand on what you're just saying. Just said. Um, I look at the emotional side of things. Um, Even though I grew up with a single parent mother, um, it was she we grew up as four family, four kids, four siblings. I got three siblings, but the thing is, when I I didn't see it until later on. My my mother, and you hear this from time to time that you know, you can't teach a woman can't teach a man, a young boy to be a man. You need a father there or whatever. But I disagree with that to some extent. I mean, it's some of the intricate details and things like that might be missed, but my mother had a unique way of doing things. And I realized that the older I got, um, she stressed the fact that, look, I'm not a man. I don't understand. I can't see it from a male's perspective, but I know what I want in a man. So why not just teach my young men, her sons, to fit that role, to be that type of person? So, and I say all that to say this: when now I think that some of these parents never had that, wasn't blessed to have that type of um, environment. I mean, to be a woman or on the male side, that they just um, raising their kids or trying to raise their kids based on how they feel or what they like or what they think is right, not knowing that there's a lot to it that is deeper than that. I don't know if you feel would understand that if a male was there, what do you think a male would provide that your mother couldn't provide?
Well, the main thing you said was just the male perspective. And then that's going to be huge if you're a guy growing up. You know, you're going to need that perspective of a male and certain ways how to present yourself and or uh, not necessarily present yourself, but how to what's the I can't think of the word right now and it's escaping me.
No,
But it is basically the male's perspective, which can cover a plethora of things: sports, women, uh, becoming an adult, what the world is going to look like to you as a male.
no,
Now it is also great to get that female perspective if you are you were raised in a single parent home with your mom and everything like that. But having that male perspective is monumental because if you don't, you're not going to understand certain concepts that a male would encounter as they're growing up. At least just that's how I view it. So it gets a little bit more difficult to try and express those things to your mom because it's just like you can't talk about those things with your mom. So
Mom, I'm feeling this way, and it's just like,
so you can't
what
talk
is
about
that? What is it? That's
so
that's right.
yeah.
But what the thing is, I'm putting things in perspective. Um, I know it's harder to, like you said, meet that male side of things when you're dealing with a young man. You're trying to develop a young man to be a man in this world. But if you are putting that same stipulation on your daughter and neglecting and assuming that because he's male, a young male, that he's going to get that, that's not how it works. And I'm just going to give you an example. Example of me growing up. This is a plain example. I'm out there running, playing, I bruise my knee. I trip, I fall, I bruise my knee. I'm crying. I'm upset. I run in, to my mother. She was like, "Stop that crying." You know, I mean, she takes care of it. Puts all the things to so I can heal correctly, not get infected, and all that. But that crying had to stop. I mean, it stopped eventually. It didn't immediate, but it stopped. And I think that is not the mindset of young mothers today.
Mhm.
Do you agree?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, that's more the old school growing up. Tough
I
it
would have
out,
the young school do
rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine. Uh,
No, you didn't say she ripped her on, but
but that's
she took
basically the
care of the
mentality, though.
wound. Right.
That's basically the mentality. Rub some dirt on it, you got to be tough.
That's right.
So with the new school, like I said earlier, it's more of being well, not necessarily understanding, but being more sensitive to your child, and basically coddling them in a sense, to where it may be a crutch as they get older, because they're, like we discussed in the first episode, I believe, that we talked about, where they're getting used to not hearing no. So, they're crying, they cry to get what they want. So it's just a snowball effect, essentially. If you don't get if you don't jump on that early enough, it ends up being a snowball effect, for your children, or um, whoever it is you might be raising at the time.
Okay. Now, based on that, I look at that what you just said as a
Mm.
bad thing. How do you look at it?
What, as far as being a mama's boy, like that, whether it's a good or bad
And
thing?
right, right.
Hmm. I think in most connotations it's seen as a bad thing, because, well, at least in our guy circles, you're seen as soft. If you're a mama's boy, you just like,
Yeah, yeah. The connotations, but I'm looking, and you might be looking at the male,
mm,
but I'm looking at the women as the mama's boys, where they are getting the tools that the boys should be getting. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're perfectly fine. Like I said, in the male circles, it
Mhm.
it's seen it can potentially be seen as a sign of weakness, but to
Yeah.
each their own. Uh, but overall, I don't think it's a bad thing. It can be a very endearing trait,
Okay.
especially to most women that want kids. Because if you're seen as a mama's boy, you're more in touch with your feelings, I would guess. And I believe that's one thing that a lot of women want in in the man, is for them to be expressive of how they're feeling, even though it can be what you got right there, that little gray right there, be very stressful at times. Um,
Right. Right.
so it has its pros and its cons. I mean, it just depends on the type of woman you're dealing with, because some women want the alpha male where, it's just my way or the highway. Some want the ones that are more sensitive, in tune with their feelings. So overall, I think it's more of a endearing trait than a negative trait, uh,
Okay.
for, I guess, my generation. I don't know about your generation, because I know it's all about the put some dirt on it. You capital
Be your
SOF
man.
capital T.
Be your
Don't
man.
bring
Be
that
your
in
man. 100% man.
here.
100%. Own your own. Handle your business. But no, I look. I understand what you're saying. But this is what I see. Is it's an emotional side to this.
Mm,
Okay, we're emotional. Men are emotional. Women are emotional. And the new age, and this is what is so serious about it. The new age is where they are emasculating the woman in a sense. You know, you know, don't rely on it. You know, you got to. This is what men should be hearing. Stop that crying. You know, don't make excuses. You know, get it done. Stop making excuses. Just do what you got to do. And this is being preached to the young lady. And people are thinking that the young men know this, just naturally being born a man. And that doesn't happen because we all have the same emotions. And this is what I'm trying to get with the good and bad part of this. We have the same emotions, but men are taught to control them. Women are not expected to control it. You know, I'm just to give you an example. You know, young women. You know, you pop them. You know, let's. I'm gonna get more aggressive, and I'm not trying to promote violence or anything. But if you know, slap a young lady back in the day, it was detrimental. It's like you almost like you tried to kill her. I mean, she's bawling. It's like you did something horribly wrong. Today, you know, you slap a woman, she fight back. She's not even crying. She's not even gonna cry or take it in that way because the she's been raised to be that masculine to say, "Hey, I'm not gonna let this happen to me." But that's all good. You know, and a lot of women out there is going to probably say, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, fight back. Don't take." But the thing is, the young men are not being taught that. So the young men got the same emotions. You slap him, a woman slap him, which she's emotional. Back in the day, a woman who's emotional, something was said, something was, said wrong. She slaps him. He would restrain her and just say, "Don't hit me again," or whatever. So let's say you got emotions unchecked with a male who's stronger. Now, I'm just physically stronger, different built, different testosterone level, all that. This is all medical, all proven. You hit him, emotions unchecked. His response is going to be just like a woman who is emotional as well. So she slaps, he punches. Now it's a totally different story. He hurts her. You know, restraint is not there. So what I'm saying is this: mama's boy is not a good thing, and I see it a lot in society that people just can't. Young men can't handle their emotions. I don't even look at mama's boy as a this something. I look at it as a um, syndrome or the product of something that is detrimental. How do you see it?
Well, if it's a product of something that's detrimental, wouldn't it fall to the parents at that time staying together in the
Absolutely.
in the home or deciding whether or not, because then that onus would fall on them to have a kid, and then they're going to split, because I see a lot of single mothers like out in the world and out and about, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm looking to settle down with the right man or whatever the case may be, but I understand it may not work out with the person that you were with when you had the kid or whatever the circumstances may be. But if that's the case, then shouldn't there be more thought into the upbringing of the child
Absolutely.
with the significant other, instead of you just cutting off all communication and raising that child on your own? I know there's some that still keep communications open with the child's father or mother or whatever. But referencing to what you're saying, then that should be more planned for the parents if they're planning on having kids.
Well, in the ideal world, that sounds great, but that's not what's happening.
Right.
You have mothers here. having by themselves. But that doesn't, when you have a kid, you have to know your responsibilities, right?
Hmm.
I mean, as a father and as a mother. So when when so when you have these kids, you need to understand that that father might not be there. And you know, and I look at the whole process of even picking the guy to have a kid with. It's all dealt in this. It's all part of this mama's boy syndrome. I'm gonna call it mama's boy syndrome. I'm not gonna, it's mama boy syndrome where you got strong women and you got men knowing they're they got some idea of their role, but they can't control their emotions because they never were taught to control their emotions. So that's why when things happen, or the girl say, I don't want to be with you. It goes to extremes. They 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 kill them. Literally, they shoot them because they can't control their emotions. And everybody has their role. And I understand, and I believe in equal and all that stuff, and great. But there's a physical difference and there's a difference in role. So I see it like that where, you even hear, uh, I want a bad boy. They like the roughneck, somebody to protect them. But when they get that protector, he's an emotional protector. He's not that protector from old days. See, that old school protector is different than that new school protector because that new school protector is not going to take what an old school protector would take emotionally, physically, or anything otherwise. I mean, do you agree or how you see it? You think it's the same or
I don't see it so much as the bad boy, like I stated earlier. It's more of the, well, I guess they could be in the same category, the alpha male. They want the alpha male, like just, I guess, dominant in the situation, making all the decisions. So I don't know if that's going to necessarily fall in that same category as the bad boy being the alpha male, but that's what I'm seeing more of now. Is that it's more of a alpha male than a bad boy. They're wanting somebody who's going to tell them what to do.
really?
Not necessarily in all aspects, but
Yeah.
that's what it appears to me. Like when I think of alpha male, it's just what I say goes. There's not, there's room for discussion, but overall it's on me. It's my house, my house, my
Okay.
rules. So that's just,
So
it's just,
your age group, you're
mm,
saying your
mm.
age group accepts that mindset.
I believe so, 100%. And like I said, it's not for everyone. It's just
Mhm.
because there's so many different people. But from what I,
We can't speak for everybody.
right,
This is
because
all
I'm
generalization.
just thinking of what I've seen, like dating profiles and just talking
Right.
to people when I pass by. A lot of the women want a man that's decisive in a relationship and basically not necessarily controlling, like telling them where they can and can't go and things like that, but as far as
Right.
decision making, like where to eat, what they're doing for that weekend or whatever the case may be. And I guess that's part of that alpha male, not necessarily telling them they can't hang out with their friends, even though I know there's probably some that get enjoyment out of that, maybe. I don't know. But that's what I've seen more so now than the bad boy. But don't get me wrong, there's still a couple of them out there that want the the bad boy, but I think it's more so going towards the alpha male now.
Okay, okay. So me with the baby boy, I mean mama boy syndrome. I don't see that. I see that women say that, what want that,
Mm,
but they don't believe that. They want their input. They want to have that kind of control because they were brought up to have that.
mm,
They were told by mama or daddy, I'm just saying, to be that way because you might not be there. So they're gonna have to take it on. And but the sons weren't taught to control their emotions. And I'm just telling you, if emotion if emotion is the thing that's driving a person, you're going to make emotional decisions. And 9 times out of 10, emotional decisions is going to be the wrong decision. It's going to cost you. And 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 I'm stressing this is because you just see how society is today. You know, you heard time and time again on TV, oh, she broke up with him, this happened. Shots fired. She was killed or he tried to. You hear time and time again. Um, they got an argument. Two males getting in an argument. Guns pulled out. What happened to these? What happened to these? And then if you lost, you take it.
well,
Live another day.
here's what here I can tell you exactly what
That's
happened to
that.
that.
That's mama boy syndrome.
I
That's
can tell you
mama's boy
exactly
syndrome.
what happened to that. It's the word sue, SUE. Nobody fights anymore, man. Nobody fights anymore.
So
The
you
minute
so
you
you
lay
kill.
hands, the
So you
look
kill now.
look look, man. The word sue is what happened with throwing hands. Like that's what happened. Like everybody lawyering up. And like if you able to afford a lawyer, you ain't gonna throw hands with nobody. Now I understand what you're saying as far as the guns, and that may go to a certain demographic that may not be able to ascertain a lawyer, but majority overall is just
It's
there's
a
no point.
nationwide. It's nationwide.
No, I understand that,
It's
but
not.
that's what I'm saying. It's just nobody fights anymore. Like that stopped. I would say that stopped in the middle of my era. I don't really unless you in the MMA or boxing or something like that. You're not seeing anybody throwing hands anymore. Like what
So what
they
did it do?
hmm?
What did they do now?
What did they? I told you
So,
they threaten to sue,
well,
or they go to the extreme and they go pull a gun on somebody because they don't want that person here anymore. Like that, it's just one of two things. That's how it is, and it's unfortunate because I don't get me wrong. I've had my heated discussions, but I would love to see somebody throw like somebody get in an argument, throw hands. The last time I've seen that was
it'd be
when
nice to
in high
see.
school. Last time I seen that was in high school. So, or actually, no, there was couple years in college. That was like that was 2009, 2010, like that roughly. So yeah, nobody does that anymore. Nobody's throwing hands. It's waste. They look at it as a waste of time. It's like why would I waste time throwing hands when I just
But you know what? You notice one thing? You notice one thing? I'm just going to point this out to you.
mm-hmm,
The women do it. The women throw hands. The women fight.
mm-hmm.
The women fight and live to fight another day. But the men, don't you see World Star and all this other stuff? The women fight. Why can't men?
Look,
They had lawsuits. They ain't got nothing to have lawsuits. What they gonna sue them for? Nothing.
look. It's just
I,
that's the
I,
word.
I'm just,
That is the
I'm just
word.
saying. I'm just
Right.
pointing out a fact. Women are throwing hands.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, stop. Why? Emotions. Can't control it. Got too much strength. It's testosterone. They got to do something. They can't control it. And we were brought up to control it. You have to be taught. to control your emotion. You're male. You're stronger. You're going to develop. Look, I got a sister. My sister, to you, sis. Um, she will scrap and be able to handle herself with any woman, straight up. I don't care what size or whatever, because that's her heart. That's but put her up against a male, I don't expect the same results. So what I'm saying is, you can't emasculate uh, women to the point where they fail to realize that men, under the same emotional stress and dealing with it the same way, is going to retaliate just like a woman, and probably to the extreme. It doesn't work out the same way. The women are throwing hands, the guys are throwing bullets. And that's where the mama boy syndrome, I'm gonna call it, is is defining this generation. Uh, I, I can't, put it any other way than that. Now let's say, okay, look, let's look at relationships. So tell me how mama's boy reflect in relationship with your wife, girlfriend, soon to be fiance.
Hmm. So how does it reflect?
Yeah, the mama's boy. I'm gonna call it syndrome, but you can
Uh-huh.
call it whatever you want.
Well, I guess the way I'm looking at it, it would reflect more. It reflect more because you're more, since you're being raised by your mother, you tend to be more,
Sensitive,
huh?
sensitive.
You tend to be more in
Uh,
touch with your emotions. Let's just say that.
well,
And so,
okay, okay.
so that's the main thing, to where you should be able to vocalize more about how you're feeling to your significant other if it makes you upset or feel some kind of way. At least that's the ideal situation. Uh, I don't know necessarily how it is factually, but from my perspective, that's how it would be if you were with a mama's boy. Like they still would do. I don't, just more so in touch with their sensitivity or their emotions, more so if they're a mama's boy in a relationship with a significant other.
Oh, okay. So let's say
Hmm.
that mama's boy, um, with mama's boy syndrome, um, expresses emotions
Right.
to his wife,
Right.
and the wife doesn't, blows it off, suck it up, be a man, or even call him out to be a man. How do you think, quote unquote, with mama's boy,
Uh-huh.
with mama's boy syndrome, gonna handle that?
If they have common sense, they just they get out of the relationship. So I mean that's a no brainer right there. If you're gonna deal with somebody like that, then you don't need to be in a relationship with them in the first place. I mean that's common sense 101. I understand some people may be smitten with their significant
Mhm.
other and everything like that, but if you have common sense, you would not be in that relationship. The minute she tells you to suck it up or something like that, then you're just like, all right, I'm out. Time out. Get me out of here. Now there
But that's
move
a
there
woman grew up with. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, just saying there may be situations where yes, you may be acting too emotionally, and that's where having a father figure or a father figure in your life at some aspect would help with that. But overall, being a mama's boy, I would think a woman would want that a lot more than just a dude that's just going to go around not say anything and just let it boil over. Because when you let it boil over, that's when stuff explodes. When, let's say, you don't put the cap on the peanut butter, you get a black eye for it. It's just like, so I think being a mama's boy would be more of a benefit than a detriment to a woman in a relationship, because he's actually going to say how he's feeling instead of just sitting there just Whatever.
So then why are we having these women saying, are being attracted to the,
Hey, that's on them.
bad boy?
That's on them. I can't. They don't want the nice guy. They realize it's the nice guy. That's
Right.
too late.
Or the
That
sensitive guy, right?
Yeah, that's on them.
They
There's
don't
nothing we
want
can do
that.
about that. There's nothing we can do about that. There is nothing we can do about that because that is a deeper layer that falls to the media, how they're raised, so many other things. Like you can't. If they want to go for the bad boy, more power to you. Go for it. But then when you realize you had something good right there in front of you, and you let it go. That's on you because I've seen that. I've seen that too many times. I've seen that too many times,
Right.
Jay. And so it's just like I don't feel any remorse. I don't feel any remorse. I'm sorry. It's just you get what you deserve. You want the bad boy, you get the left hook. Hey, I'm sorry.
No, no. But you know what? I see what you're saying because, you know, I see beautiful, young, intelligent black women. But the thing is, you only get one side. You get the end result
Mm,
because I know that they've been brought up in that masculine mama's boy syndrome. So they were taught to be independent,
mhm,
and that could be a detriment to a woman because the young men are in their age group are not brought up to be men that control their emotions. So like you said, if you get that bad boy, you better make sure what era he's in because you get that bad boy and you start messing with his emotions, that can cost you your life. And like you said, but I'm just saying that as a parent, on the parent side of things, the mama or the daddy who's raised, you have to make address them for who they are and what role they play in the scheme of things in life. You just can't inject them into a certain level or expectation and not give each one the tools and based on who they are. And that's why it's so important being a parent. And that's the responsibility of the parent. And like you stressed before, the parent, this is on the parent. This is not on the child. The child is the end result. So the parent has to say, hey, honey, you should find you a man who understands, just like you say, understanding this and that. Not say these young women are so strong, the only man that looks appealing to them are the bad boys because the boys under the mama boy syndrome are not strong enough. They're too emotional. But you could have both. Just teach him how to control his emotions. And I'll tell you, if they just do this across the board, this gun violence, you ain't have to worry about the gun violence as much as you do now because they know how to. Because your feelings are hurt, that doesn't give somebody a death sentence. But now, oh, that's a death sentence. You hurt my feelings, or lawsuits because you don't want to go at the hands, but the women go at the hands. Hey, if you're gonna use lawsuit as the reason why they don't go at him, hey, I'm fine with it. But I just believe that they just it's easier and they just never. Let me put it like this: when I got in a fight, if I win, I probably cried. If growing up, and if I lose, I probably cried. But if I came home to my mother, if I was able to walk in the door, you better stop crying. Man up. You fought, you lost. You fought, you won. Deal with it, son. I'm not going to run down the street and jump on this kid because you lost a fight with him, hand to hand. In today's street, the parents go, drive down the street, want to fight the kid. Mama boy syndrome. Mama boy syndrome. I'm just being written. Hey, we on the porch right now, bro.
I think
We on the
that
porch, bro.
I don't know if that's more so mama's boy syndrome. I think that's just being a overprotective parent or overbearing parent.
Well, that's a good thing. That's supposed to be a good thing. But don't you can't put
It
that
can
as a
be
good thing.
a good thing to a certain extent, but if you're crippling your child, then they're not going to have room to learn these lessons and grow. So you have to know when to it's a what's it a, what's the term, a give and take
Okay.
on that aspect. But do you I guess the question becomes is, do you should they be best friends with their kids? Like, should a mother be a best friend with their son uh as they're growing up? Should it be just, everything open book essentially? Hey, you talk to me about, how the parents always, you can talk to me about anything, but then there's certain things you really can't talk about.
What was it
So,
talking about?
so
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I want to go talk to my mom about sex. I'm just gonna tell you that. I'm not. But you know what? I never gave her the chance either. I never went there,
right.
so but I don't know how she would have handled that. I don't know.
No, no, because
But
it's just
but
an awkward conversation to have at the beginning.
best friends, best friends, you would talk to a best friend about it, right?
Yeah.
So you saying that relationship, you want that type of relationship. How do I see having that type of relationship with my mother?
Hmm. Like, most of the time, your best friend's going to be someone of your gender.
Hmm.
So my best friend, of course, is my boy Caesar. He's my best
Right,
friend, right?
right.
So I think I don't really know a whole lot of people that grow up would have a best friend of this significant, when you would, because I'm thinking, like, if you were talking about something like that, you wouldn't really
Hmm.
talk about with the best friend of the opposite sex. So it's kind of hard to do that. So I don't think you can really be best friends with your parents, because there's going to be things that you're going to want to talk about that is going to be too awkward for you to talk about with them, or they might not understand because they're not a man and or female, growing up. If they're a female, like if you're a female talking to your dad, he might not understand what you're going through being a female growing up. Just
Yeah,
like, hey, just like if your son talking to your mom, she may not understand what you. So I don't think you can be uh best friends with your parents. I mean, you can love your parents, you can honor your parents, but best friends, no, because it creates too many problems. Because at that point, especially when you want to move on and like have relationships like girlfriends, boyfriends, that could get in the way because your parents' thoughts or opinions may weigh too heavy on you and influence your relationship with somebody that you might enjoy being around.
and I agree. I agree with that to some extent because your parents, let's put it like this, have an investment in you.
Oh, here we go.
They 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 want you to be the best, and and they would love to have you as their best friend, to look at them as their best friend. And like I said, I'm a parent, so I do want that, but I want them to feel that they can come to me with that. I really do. I listen. I
It's not gonna
really do.
happen. It's not gonna. I'm telling you that right now. It's not gonna happen. You may want it all your life, but it's not gonna. No, it's not going to happen.
Why not?
It's not gonna happen because then most of the time it's gonna turn to some lecture you're not trying to hear. Like, it'd be like, hey, I'm just trying to tell you a joke. Well, let me tell you about this time and spending this some other. I know some people out there that do that right now. Not to say any names, but it ends up turning into a lecture. I'm not trying to hear that. But no, I'm coming to tell you one thing and one thing only. If that.
Okay, okay. But you know, the best friend thing is, but you know what? I think even in life, you don't tell your best friend everything. You tell them most things.
Yeah, like 97%.
Eh, that's right. That's right. So I think uh mama's boy relationship being a best friend can be good because 9 times out of 10, the mother or the if the father's playing that mama's role wants the best for their kids, and they're going to tell them what's right, and that's why I'm saying. But certain things you probably not going to go, and I didn't go. I didn't go there. I'm not talking to my mom about no sex. Just that's just one thing I wasn't going to do. And you know what? I probably would have been better off talking to her about it, and talking to the people I did talk about it to. But I just wasn't there. So I get what you're saying, and but we hey we're here. We're here and we're a listening ear. You might shock us. We might shock us. No, don't get it wrong. And we were where you were at. And just like I told you, I couldn't talk to my mother about it. But
Mhm.
I hope that I tore down those walls that my kids could come to me and talk about that. I might be opinionated about it, and it might be one sided because I'm thinking about them, but I think any topic, I think a good parent will willing to accept to take that, whatever it is. And just like if they do something wrong, even seriously wrong, you could tell your parents, but your parents are still going to stand by you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. At least they should. So.
Yeah. But that's gonna be they gonna take you down to the police department. Standing by you not mean hiding you. Standing by you mean, hey, let's take care of this. Let's get this thing started so we can get on the other side of it.
Right.
So yeah.
But then we still not
So
we're still not coming to tell you no. Mm-mm. At the end of the day, you can preach all you want. No, mm-mm. No, we're good. Nope, we're good. We're not trying to hear about you walking through 6 feet of snow in the winter to 8 miles to school and have it relate to something else that
uphill,
uphill.
Richards,
Yeah,
uphill. Right, right.
a 15
Both
minute
ways, both ways.
a 15-minute conversation about how you had to do something when we could have the answer in 30 seconds. It's like, we're not trying to deal with that. We're trying to deal with not
So
trying to deal with that.
okay. Let's say you about to get married.
Mm-hmm.
You found Mrs. Right, and you're a mama's boy.
All right.
How does she fit in to this new union between you and your soon to be or wife?
Well, if I am, how does my mother fit in to the union of me and my wife? I mean, she's going to have to respect who I'm getting married to, first of all. She's going to have to respect that. And then don't come talk to me about grandkids. No, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that conversation about grandkids.
No, great,
I
no mom, no parent don't want grands.
I
So
understand that, but I'm like, I'm not trying to hear that. No, I'm not trying to hear that right now. That's a lot of undue pressure. I'm not trying to hear that right now. But I will hear I'm not going to hear discussions about how you don't approve of said person or whatever the case may be. You're not going to talk bad about the person, but I will hear you out if there's some concerns. Uh, But even then, that should be expressed before I'm even getting married. So that she's gonna have to
calm
understand.
yourself.
She's gonna have to understand set ground rules about when to talk or when to visit, and because I'm moving on to the next chapter of my life, so there's not going to be a whole lot of talking that may have happened, every other day or whatever the case may be. I don't know the extent of the
Right, right,
mama's boy
right.
thing, but maybe the four visits a year, one for the birthday, Christmas, all that good stuff. All that would be discussed, but she would fall more to the wayside. She'd be a secondary than a primary. Uh, if
That's your mama.
but
That's
she
your
would be,
mama.
I understand that, but she becomes a secondary and not a primary once I'm getting married, because the person I'm marrying becomes a primary. That's the person I'm focusing on. I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's, that's
Um,
how it's supposed to be. But is
but
it like that?
no, not at all. And then there's situations for everything, but ideally that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to, your parents come second to your wife and or husband. So, but you know, everybody is raised differently or has a different perspective, all that.
Mama's boy syndrome.
So
That's a new term. Mama boy syndrome.
that
Just remember that.
that's his term.
But but no, no. But it's easier said. It's easier said
Right.
than done. That that sounds good. But we've been brought up, mama, respect mama. And most sons, daughters as well, mama rules. Mama rules. Now, let's say you take that stance, but her mother's all in your business. She's ruling the roost.
Mhm.
She's telling her everything to do under the sun. Sounds good on your end. You know who's gonna stand up for you? Who? Say it. Say it.
That's when we
Huh?
have to go back in a time machine. I challenge you to a duel. What pat?
No,
Somebody's
no,
gotta go.
no.
Somebody's gotta go. It ain't gonna be me.
Oh,
10
no, no,
paces.
no.
10
You
paces.
might not.
I'm taking your parents. We do it 10 paces. One of us has gotta go.
No, no, you
10
know who's
paces
gonna
turning
stand up?
fire.
You
Bang.
know, and you get shot. No, no,
Then it's my time then. It's my
no. But see, that's what happens. It's either going to be you push your mother's going to be pushed away, her mother's going to take charge because they're going to be influenced in your home. So you know where you going to go to mama. Mama, this is what's going on, and then see that. So it sounds good. That's the ideal, and that should be on both ends. You know, if you have it on one end, both mamas going to be involved. Some mama's gonna stand up for you, and mama's gonna stand up for her.
I'm just gonna take both mothers and put them in a ring and let them duke it out, and then we're gonna go somewhere.
No,
So,
oh yeah, yeah. At
let
least
them
they'll
duke
fight. They won't shoot each other.
let them duke it out. Like we'll go on our honeymoon or whatever. Let them duke it out.
And then if grands come involved, that's the different ball. That's a totally different ball game. So, but yeah, yeah, it sounds good, and I think the mothers, the ideal is you cut those strings. Hey, he's out there. It's her job. It's her and him now, and let them grow and blossom to be a beautiful family and and, and grow. But certain dynamics change that. The only child, uh, the only boy, the only man in the family. All those things make a difference. How mama gonna let go? You know, that's you know what? And correct me if I'm wrong. How many mothers? I mean, they can have 20 kids. Their sons, they always refer to them as my babies.
I thought it
That's my
was
baby.
I thought it
No,
was
no,
the well, hold on. I thought it was the youngest is always the most. If there's two, like let's for instance, two girls, two boys, the youngest boy is referred to as the baby. That's my baby. The oldest one is just like, well, I guess you're just you're the neglected stepchild, essentially, the neglected stepchild syndrome. I've heard that on many occasions where people that grew up in with multiple sisters, the youngest one is always the one that's most loved, and the oldest one is always the one that gets like the scraps or the crumbs or whatever. It's always it. Look, okay.
No, the oldest usually gets, was the first.
Mhm.
So they got a lot. But as time goes on, you have other kids because usually the middle child that's the one that
Like you
gets
just get looked
raked
over.
across the coals. Yeah, get raked across the coals. You can't do anything right. You're not the oldest, and you can't be forgiven for anything that you do wrong because you're not a baby. You're
Right.
not the baby. So, yeah, yeah. So that middle child, only child syndrome is real. It's real. It happens. It's true. But what I'm saying is, I've seen the dynamic, family dynamic, where you have, let's say, three girls, one son, older, younger, middle, wherever that dynamic. Those women do what they have to do. They are successful. He's the only one either close to home, in trouble, and that mother will always refer to him as the baby. That's my baby. For the most part, they always protect them. You know, keep them under that blanket of protection. The 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 girls, hey, you better get. Don't you have a man? you know, take care of yourself. Or
But
they don't even interject in their marriages the same way.
mm, isn't it the same thing for a father and the youngest girl? Like if there's three
Yeah,
boys and so it's pretty much the same thing on either spectrum. So I mean, but I understand what you're saying. It's the same thing on
that's
both
right.
sides. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
But yeah, so the girls always if it's the dad raising the kids, the girls always my little girl, my princess, she's gonna get away with murder.
always be his little girl,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So, so that's why the men in the houses, and the thing about it, it doesn't matter about age. It's about circumstance. If somebody does something to harm that particular person, or they felt that person is being treated a certain way, the first words out of their mouth, "That's my baby."
mm,
So that you cannot mothers all the time, but the emotional side of things, and I just want to stress this is you can't. Everybody has emotions,
right.
but men have to have control over theirs. And I'm sorry, and that's probably why their life expectancy is a lot shorter because they deal with the stress. They got to hold stuff in, but that's part of being a man.
Eh, well, holding stuff in and dealing with the crazy, but I mean, I know you didn't want to say it, but I'll go ahead and say dealing with the crazy. That's why we got a lot of
Uh,
gray hairs that we have now. But
that's right. But that's what is required to be a man.
right,
And like no, I'm just check me if I'm wrong. I've seen emotional events that happen in the world, in families and things, and I see women making the noise, but they're so strong they can't even produce the tears. They're making the sound that they're crying, but they can't even produce the tears because they're so strong and was told to be strong and and that's the role of the man. The man's supposed to be there comforting them and say, "Hey, it's going to be all right. Let the tears flow. We'll hold ours so you can let yours go." But now they holding theirs. Shoot, I see grown men crying. Just off of just emotions. Their feelings got hurt. I mean,
Is that how it sound? Is that
That's and
you
that's an
sound
ugly
like
sight
you
too.
okay, so
And that's an ugly sight
you
too.
referenced that to Bobby Boucher. I know where you got that from. I know what you did.
You know,
You're not slick.
you know.
You're not slick. You're not slick.
So you see how ugly that is. How that look. I'm not saying men don't cry, but
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is certain things. We're the shoulder
Mm-hmm.
for them to cry on. But you know, these the new generation is being designed to be self-sustaining and you know be able to take this stuff. And but they know that they should feel something, but they can't produce the tears. I mean, hey, I'm just asking you, you just look at an event for the most part, and you'll see women making the noise,
Mm-hmm.
but no tears. They're making the sound, but no water. When a man gets to that point, you will see tears. If you hear the sound, you will see the tears. Women, they've been programmed now to be so strong that they don't know how to be emotional. They have control over their emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and the males don't. That's how that mama's boy syndrome has turned to the women and not the men, the young men. They can control their emotions, and the young men who, with a lot of testosterone, can't control their emotions, and they go off the rails to extremes. Just my take on it.
Well,
And
I'm
don't let me drop the mic again. I mean,
okay, dude. Okay, well, I think it's about. I think it's time. I think it's past your bedtime. So go ahead and get your meds and make sure you know you get your warm milk, whatever it is you got to do to go to sleep. I think a little bit past your bedtime right now.
yeah, it's warming up right now.
But
No, but
go ahead, man.
uh, no, but no,
No, I was
that's
just gonna
good. You
say
know,
you brought up a very valid point as far as the roles being reversed, but I think it's a lot more than we have time for to talk about.
yeah,
Uh, because there's a lot of underlying issues that play into that as far as societal, how things have evolved since I've been a kid. So,
that's right.
but
That's right.
but yeah, maybe some other time. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, sir, as always.
Oh, absolutely. Always, always. Can't wait to talk to you again. I love these conversations. I love, discussing certain topics and any topic. Um, but no, it's always it's good hearing a different perspective because I can't relate to how you see it.
Hmm.
I'm not there. I'm not there. I wasn't there.
Yeah, you
So
ran your race. You know you you ran your race.
so no, it's always a pleasure having these conversations and I look forward to the next.
All right. Well, that's gonna be it for us here. We'll see you all next week. We'll have something else spicy, and hopefully he'll be up, and not taking a nap or something like that. But until next time, I'm Tack, and that's Jay.
All right.
We're out here.
And, all right. After I finish burping him.
Oh, we're out of here.
Peace.
Let everybody.
Bye.